Hello everyone, my name is Jane. I'm the director of the Ohio State Brazil Gateway, and I'm based in the city of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And today I'm going to teach you how to make the most famous Brazilian dessert. It's called Brigadeiro. It's basically a chocolate ball. So it's super easy. We will do it in 5 minutes. So we're going to need 3 ingredients. Condensed milk. You can find that in the international aisle of the supermarkets. It's usually in a can. It's super sweet. Cocoa powder. So this one, because this one is super sweet, you can try to find one that is like mostly cocoa and not chocolate only. So that's a little bit darker chocolate. And then butter, just these 3 things. So let's start. You will need a pan. Let me turn it. So this is a Brazilian kitchen. You have an example of what it looks like. So you are going to need just half a spoon of butter. And then you let it melt. Okay, so butter is gone. Okay. After that, you're going to add the condensed milk. Beautiful. In Brazil, we use condensed milk in almost every dessert you can think of. Puddings, cakes, and some people like to eat it the way it is, from the can with the spoon. And then the last ingredient, cocoa powder. Then this one, there is no measure. You can, if you want your brigadeiro a little bit darker, you add more. If you want it a little brown, you add just 2 spoons like I did today. Let me get something here. And then the idea is that you mix everything up. Like that. And how do you know when it's ready? When it starts to when you start to see the bottom of the pan while you are mixing it, and you see that it's not that liquid anymore, it's starting to get like a gooey mess. Oh, oops. Somebody will have to clean this later. Probably my husband, who is recording it. And then when it's ready, you can eat it with a spoon right off the pan, or depending on the texture. If you have no problem with this gooey texture, you can just get a little bit of it, make a little ball, and then put it in a nice paper thing. So you, like you see in the photos I'll probably show, like we do in every single birthday party and wedding. But usually people make it at home and just eat it with a spoon right off the pan. See, it's too liquid yet. Yeah, you just have to watch. If if it's not burning or anything. See, it's getting different, but we are not there yet. That's it. Some people like it the way it is because then they can put it in a shot glass and they can serve it at parties. So if you wanna put it in a shot glass, this is the right texture. If you wanna just wait until it cools down and then eat it with a spoon, it's also good. You see, it's coming, it's easily moving from the pan, you see. But if you want to make little balls, you can wait a little bit more. We're done.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Buckeye Bridge Culinary Passport. Today, we are joined by our special guest, Jane Aparecido, the director of the Brazil Global Gateway with Ohio State. And so today, we are going to learn about a famous Brazilian dessert. My name is Geoff Nelson. I'm an education abroad specialist here at Ohio State, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Jenna Azotea and Kyle Sturges. And so we are excited to share with you today a bit about Brazilian culture. So now I will hand it over to Jane.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me for this today. Thank you so much for all the opportunities you gave me to eat more brigadeiros while I was preparing the video and the presentation. It's really nice to be here. So before I start the real conversation about brigadeiros, I wanted to say a few words about myself. So I am an Ohio State alumna. I did my master's in international law at the Moritz College of Law in 2014. Then I did my OPT in Columbus, Ohio. For those international students who are watching this, you know what an OPT is when you stay after you graduate for internships in the US. So it was an amazing experience. And then after that, I was invited to join the Brazil Gateway, Ohio State's office in Brazil. I started in 2016 as the Academic Relations and Alumni Community Manager, very long title. And then in 2019, I became the director of the office. So let me see, you all see my presentation. This is a bit of information about the office. Unfortunately, this photo here doesn't show our office. That this is Rio de Janeiro and we are not there. But you can visit Rio anytime when things get better with COVID-19. So why does Ohio State have an office in Brazil? Well, it's nothing new. Ohio State has more than 55 years of engagement in Brazil with universities here, with alumni here. There are currently 18 agreements with Brazilian institutions, mostly universities, 11 study abroad programs. I don't know how things will be after COVID, but these groups, they vary a lot. Some of them go to the northeast of the country and they have dance activities or music activities. There is one called Higher Education in Brazil from the Office of Diversity. There are others that come here to Sao Paulo, where our office is located, and they visit companies or they work with nonprofits. So there are opportunities for everyone. There's one dual degree program with University of Sao Paulo, a very big and traditional public university in Brazil. It's in chemistry. So if anyone watching this is studying chemistry at Ohio State and wants to spend some time in Brazil, that's an opportunity. The office was established in 2014. And we like to call it, it's like an embassy for Ohio State, because then it makes it a bit easier to explain what we do. We do a lot of things, but we do have 4 areas that we focus students. So we do help Ohio State students come to Brazil, like I mentioned, for study abroad programs or research, for example. But we also help Brazilians go to Ohio State for undergrad, grad, and professional education and research as well. In the area of faculty, we help connect Ohio State faculty with faculty here in Brazil, so they can pursue grants, they can publish together, do research together. It's really nice. It's a lot of what we do. The alumni portion, so Brazil has about 200 Brazilian alumni from Ohio State, but we decided to also include folks who went for Ohio State for short-term programs, like being a visiting scholar, for example, a postdoc, or doing an internship. There is an internship in agriculture at Ohio State. So if we add all those people, because they do feel like Buckeyes, they feel like alumni. If we add all those people, then we have 1,300 people to work with here. And we try to communicate, share experiences, host networking events, and this type of thing. And then in partnerships, of course, it includes connections with universities, like I mentioned before, but also with nonprofits, government offices, and industry. So we can do activities such as events together, executive education together, and find spots for Ohio State students to do internships in Brazil. It happened now, it's been happening virtually, which is really nice. So I think last year we had 3 Fisher College of Business students doing internships at startups here in Brazil, which was really, really interesting. Yes, so this is the general information. Just for you to have an idea, this is the map of Brazil. We say it's a continental size country. It's really big. And because it's really big, there are so many states. And just like the US, you can imagine the differences between the regions. Yes, the differences in culture, the differences in the type of food that we consider traditional. So it's really difficult to give a presentation about one thing. We try to get one thing that is considered by everyone, but it changes a lot depending on where you go. So here, the arrow here is in Sao Paulo. That's the name of the state, and it's also the name of the capital of the state. And this is where our office is. So I added a photo as well, so you can compare it to Rio. Yeah. It's beautiful, but it's not real. And we are located in what we call the southeast region of Brazil. So let me show you now a bit about the food, and I can tell you where it usually is traditional. So the first one is called tapioca. I thought about this recipe for today as well because it's super easy, but I don't know if it's easy to find the tapioca flour in the US. So, but it's super easy, and you can have it filled with cheese, with chicken, and with brigadeiro, of course, because we can just add brigadeiro to most everything you can think of. And so this is very good, and you can find everywhere in Brazil, but I think the origin is from the Northeast. The second one is pão de queijo. I translate like cheese bread. You can buy that frozen version of that in Columbus, and then you can try to make it home. It's really good. So there is sort of cheese in the whole dough thing. It's not only filled with cheese, you know, it's delicious. It's a recipe from the Southeast as well, but it's everywhere. It's like a snack you can have in the afternoon. Then you have the drink, Guaraná Antártica. It's very traditional in Brazil. It's really interesting the relationship that they have with Coke here in Brazil. I would compare that with the relationship between McDonald's and Burger King, and they are always sort of trying to beat each other. So usually Guaraná says, hey, we are made of this fruit here. You can see in the back, it's actually a very scary fruit. But yeah, we are made out of this fruit here. So ask Coke to show what fruit they are made of. Yeah, this kind of thing. Just to say that they are more natural. It's really good. I mean, Brazilians that are in Columbus, they look for it every time. And it's super sweet, so not everyone likes it because it's super sweet. Everybody says that Brazilians like everything super sweet. I do, so I don't know if it's true, but I do. And then here you have feijoada. Feijoada comes from the word feijão, which means beans in Portuguese. So it's basically, how can I describe that? Beans, it's like a stew or something like that, like a casserole. I don't know. Yeah, something like that. It's made of with black beans and parts of pork meat, and you usually have it with white rice, collard greens, and like flour stuffing, something like that as well that you can see in Thanksgiving. So we usually have like that, and it's kind of heavy. It's a real special meal, but it's delicious. It's my favorite one, but it's not every day that we have because it's difficult. It's like it takes a long time to make it, and it's it's considered special. Yeah. It seems the origin is from Africa, and then it started, I think, here in the Southeast as well, and went all over the country. And then you have this here. I think I ate it just once in my life. It's from the Northeast as well. And it's dough made with beans, but then there is like seafood within. I think you can see shrimp in there and things like that, because in the Northeast they have the beach and everything, the ocean. It's easier to get seafood. That's why they have the recipes with seafood. And it's very spicy, usually. That's why it shows here. And then the star for today, Brigadeiro. You will see the video of me trying to make it there. I used the version where you eat the brigadeiro from the pan, the pot, but you can make little balls with it and serve like these with the sprinkles and everything. That's how you will see it during parties. And the last one is a drink. It's caipirinha. It's an alcoholic drink, so it's not for everyone, and it's made out of Brazilians vodka, which we call cachaça, and it's made out of sugar cane. And then you add more sugar, of course, and then that one is lime, right? The green one is lime. But you can add, this one is the traditional one, but you can add any fruit you can think of: strawberry, passion fruit. So if you have the right age and if you come to Brazil, try it because it's really nice. And here is the star for today. It's so beautiful. Yeah. So here you have a photo with the one you will see the video of me trying to make it, where you can just get it with the spoon. But some people, depending on how you want to serve it, at a party, for example, you try to make it more beautiful. So you can put it in shots. You can make the balls like I told you, and then you can make a whole cake with brigadeiros. Or that boring carrot cake? you can just add tons of brigadeiros to it. It's my favorite right now is this one, the carrot cake with brigadeiro. And this photo here of the colorful desserts here, it's actually the ones that I served at my wedding. And see who is there? Brigadeiro, of course, because it's everywhere. All the birthday parties, all the weddings, every time. Yeah, you will see it. So, and here is a bit of the history of it. It's really interesting. It's about politics, believe it or not. But there was a long time ago a presidential campaign, and one of the candidates, he was a military, and his rank was brigadier. I don't know how the rank is actually, but in Portuguese it means brigadeiro. And then they started to have parties and organize to raise funds for his candidacy. And this candidate, ladies really liked him because he was really handsome and single. So they made like a song that said in Portuguese, vote no brigadeiro, ele é lindo e solteiro. See, it rhymes, brigadeiro and solteiro. So vote for Brigadeiro, he is handsome and single. And then they made this candy a little bit different from what it was originally. It seems like the idea came from one dessert that came from Portugal. You know, Brazil was colonized by Portugal in the beginning. So, but then because of the war and everything, it seems Brazil didn't have all the ingredients to make that specific dessert. So they sort of invented a new one that used just condensed milk instead of using eggs and all other stuff. And that was how Brigadeiro was born, and it was served during these presidential parties. Yeah. And now you have so many versions of it. You can make it white brigadeiro. You can make with, I don't know, there are so many that I love. You can add strawberries. You can change the sprinkles on top. And but if you want to know, that guy didn't win the presidency. It was not enough for him. Only brigadeiros were forever in our history. And then I added this special slide because of Easter. Of course, we bake chocolate eggs, huge chocolate eggs filled with brigadeiros. I made one with my husband like weeks ago, so it's delicious. It's really good. Yes, that's it. Thank you so much. Our office is in that blue building right there.
Jane, that was amazing. So thorough.
That egg blew my mind. That's so cool.
Incredible.
Oh.
So I'd like to know a little bit more about like what occasions you would have brigadeiros. It looks like you can make them at home, eat them straight out of the pan. You mentioned having them at your wedding. Like, is there any sort of special recipe that maybe you would use for each event or situation?
Yeah, if you are going to have an event like a wedding, we try the gourmet version of brigadeiros, which usually is just a different way to present it, or different sprinkles on top, just like a fancier type of cocoa and chocolate that you use. But that we will do for parties. But if like for when you're just craving chocolate, you just make the one I'll show you in the video how to make. But there you can have it all the time. Like you're watching Netflix and suddenly, yeah, I need brigadeiro for this. So you can make it in 5 minutes.
So, and then how did you first learn to make them? And did you have any sort of like special memory from when you first made them?
Yes, I was trying to remember that, but I think it's just so much like a part of our lives. I don't remember the first time I had it or the first time I made it, but I think I know the first time my husband made it. And he tried to make it in the microwave. He doesn't know how to use the pot and the pan, so he uses the microwave, and it works. So just in case you want to try to make it in the microwave, you can do that. And then when he's making it, he adds how do you call those? It's not crackers because they are sweet, but like biscuits like that. And then it becomes something else. It's called spaghetti italiana. That's an Italian dessert. So I don't even know if it's really Italian or if we say it's Italian here in Brazil because it has brigadeiros. But yeah, you can make it in the microwave as well. But I think I learned when I was really, really young. Actually, in Brazil, in the supermarkets, if you can buy if you want, you can buy a can. Not even, you don't need to make anything. You just get the can, make the little balls, and you can eat it. It's not the same as making it at home, but it's possible. And I remember lots of birthday parties doing this, preparing the little balls.
And for those of you watching at home, they are very easy to make. I made some yesterday, and it's been really hard not eating all of them before now, but they are very easy to make and very delicious.
Geoff, tell us about your experience. Was it easy to make? Would you say it was successful?
Oh yeah, I would say successful. I mean, they're not the most beautiful looking brigadeiros probably out there, but I mean, very easy. Just kind of throw everything in the pot and cook it until it gets a little thickened, and then you cool it and roll it, and voila. And then try not to eat all of them in one sitting.
I think that would be the challenge for sure. So when you got the ingredients, were you able to find what you needed at a local, like a normal grocery store? Did you need to go to like a international market, or?
I mean, it's literally just cocoa powder, condensed milk, and butter. So all very easily accessible ingredients.
Accessible ingredients, yeah. Yeah, and then Jane, you mentioned that you're an alumna of Ohio State, so you have experience here in Columbus. Do you know of any local Brazilian restaurants or markets or anything that if we didn't want to make them at home, we could go purchase them like pre-made? Do you know of anything?
Yeah, there are. Well, that I remember, there are 3 places you can get that. One is called Texas de Brazil, where the steakhouse. Yeah, I think they serve that in the desserts portion. Then there is Rodizio. I think it's not too far from campus. And it's nice because the waiters and the waitress, they try to speak Portuguese, and it's really nice to see someone speaking Portuguese. And then there is the Brazilian one. It's called, it's a little market, but it's also a restaurant. It's called Estilo Brasil. I think it's in Cleveland Avenue. I'm not sure, but it was back in my time, in my days there. But they sell almost everything that I showed you: the tapioca flour, the guaraná, and they sell brigadeiros as well, or the condensed milk. It's these 3 that I remember. I remember I made brigadeiros in Columbus many times for parties, but not everybody liked it. So I want to see if you really liked it. Not because people said it was too sweet. Again, poor brigadeiro. And then, but to be fair, the condensed milk I bought in Columbus was sweeter than the condensed milk here in Brazil. So maybe it's better to use cocoa powder that is like 100% cocoa or something like that. And not even the kids really liked the texture. It was one of the happiest times in my life, actually, because for the first time I didn't have to fight to get one brigadeiro in the party. I had almost all of them for myself, and I was so happy because of that. So I can't believe it, they're all mine. Yeah. And some of my colleagues from South America who knew about it as well, and then they would have it. But yeah, I think it takes some time to get used to the texture and how sweet it is.
Well, and then thinking too about the other foods that you mentioned, I am a huge fan of feijoada. I think that was my first meal that I had when I was fortunate enough to visit Brazil, was feijoada. And it's always stuck with me. So when I heard you talking about it, you're talking about some of the potential, African influence there. And I know that Brazil does have a large Afro-Brazilian culture. Do you know much about that culture? Like, how is that ingrained in like daily life? I know that Sao Paulo also has a huge museum for Afro-Brazilian culture too.
Yes, it's so ingrained that we don't actually know what comes from an African origin, what comes from an indigenous origin, and what's from Portugal, for example, because it's all so mixed. So sometimes we find out when we start researching it is, oh, so that's where it came from. Yeah, so not only food, but also the words we use. Sometimes we speak it all the time, and then suddenly when you do some research, it's, oh, so that's the region is from Africa, that's why we speak it like this. And so it's very mixed, but it's everywhere in everything you do, every building you see, every color, every food. It's especially in the Northeast, so if you go there you will see much more of the culture in terms of dance and music. Yeah, and there's also sports. I don't know if you've heard of capoeira. Capoeira is, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a mixture of a sport and a dance. It's really beautiful, and it came from Africa. It came from Africa as well, the culture of doing this. It's really nice. I think it's from Angola, but I'm not sure.
That's cool too. And then thinking about Sao Paulo, I think a lot of people, when they think Brazil, they do think of Rio, right? But Sao Paulo is the largest city, and well, it holds a lot of records, right, for being like the largest city.
Yeah.
So that's also really interesting. I think a lot of people, who think Rio, but then learn that Sao Paulo is, well, it's the largest in Brazil, right? Largest in the Americas, largest in the Southern Hemisphere, and largest in the Western Hemisphere. I have to little citation for Wikipedia there. I did a quick Google before our meeting, but like it's wild to think about just how large it is.
Yes, and the economy. So people in Sao Paulo say that we run sort of the economy in Brazil. Right now the economy is not good, so I don't know how good it is to say that, but yeah, it's where everything happens. So if we compare to the US, for example, Sao Paulo would be our New York, maybe Rio would be our Los Angeles. Yeah, we have a Columbus here, actually. It's called Curitiba. It's the developed and modern city, and it's a sister city from Ohio State, from Columbus. So there are many things that are similar. So we always try to do this parallel so people can have an idea what it is.
Would you say, so like, is the pace of life in Sao Paulo similar to like that of New York City? Like
Oh yeah,
the hustle, the bustle, and all of that?
yeah. People just going around dressed very like business way, and talking on the phone, not looking at each other. This type of, and when it rains is even more similar.
So, as a Brazilian who's also spent quite a bit of time in the United States, what are like some of the like overarching major differences that you see between like the cultures of the two countries?
Oh wow, it's so difficult. I mean, when I chose to go to the US to do my master's, it was because I thought I wouldn't have that much of a culture shock. Because I thought with myself, well, American music plays in Brazil. I watch movies made in the US all the time. The McDonald's is here and all the other franchise. So I don't think I will have that culture shock if I go there. And I had to learn English when I was in school. So, I don't think there is that much of a difference. I learned some other stuff while I was there. For example, I learned that I was not that I can't say that I learned that I was Latina, but I had never thought of that before. Of course, we are not gonna call each other Latinos here because then it would be 100% of the people. So we don't have that division. So it was the first time somebody called me Latina. So it's like that is a bit of a shock because that's not how you describe yourself in your country. And then when you go to the US, you sort of have to be that someone else, someone different, get an identity that you were not used till that moment. Yeah, but I think now we are getting more used to it. I don't know if it's because I went there and then I see that a little bit more happening. But like if I tell my friends, for example, no, in the US you are Latino, they do like, what? Yes, this kind of thing. They didn't think about it. It makes sense. I'm in Latin America, but yeah, I never thought about it. I think that was the thing that was different. I didn't see or feel anything much different than that. Food is similar because we have it here. Well, we don't have cookies here, and wow, cookies. They would be perfect with brigadeiros.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, I think cookies. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was telling Jenna earlier that when I was in Sao Paulo, I got a Brigadeiro frappuccino from Starbucks. Yeah. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, like it comes in so many different forms and it's so ingrained. It was really a fun experience.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, somebody can create that in the US, make a lot of money.
So what you're saying is I need to move to Sao Paulo and open a cookie shop, and then
yeah, or add brigadeiros to your cookies shop in Columbus. Mm-hmm. If you don't do that, I'll do that in the future.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to a student who's considering going to Brazil for an education abroad program or travel? Like, what makes Brazil special?
Well, it is a very special place. I always say when I give presentations, it's never a boring country. There's always something happening and we are on the news. It's not always something good, but depending on what you're studying, it's just perfect. Yes, you can see history happening and how things develop. You can compare it with how things are developing in the US. And I think I would choose Brazil if I was not living here. Also because of the whole cultural thing and to feel how people are with each other. Because everybody says Brazilians are so friendly, they like to hug, they like to help, they like foreigners, which is something really rare sometimes in countries. Yes, it tends to like, here in Brazil, we tend to like foreigners. If we hear an accent, we are, oh, where are you from? We are interested in accents and everything. We don't mind if people don't speak Portuguese because most of the people know how hard it is to speak Portuguese, and there are a few countries, I think 16 countries that speak it. So I would want to see how that, if it's real, if it's true, if it's everywhere, or if it's not really like that. Because of the food, that's amazing. And one thing that is very strategic, because it's not expensive right now, there is, because of the whole economy, dollars, I think are 5 times our money. So imagine how many brigadeiros you can have with that. Yes, with $1, how many brigadeiros you can buy, and all the rest, all the Brazilian shoes that are usually amazing, and how you can travel on the cheap, going to other states and other cities. So I think it's a very nice opportunity. For those that are thinking of these study abroad programs, please reach out to the Brazil Gateway as well. We actually, on our website, we have a travel guide with a lot of cultural tips. So we need to update because of the COVID situation at some point when travel is back. But it's a very nice travel guide with photos and of places you can go, different than Sao Paulo and Rio. Yeah, what people always come here to see. So why don't you go to Minas Gerais, for example? It's also in the southeast. It takes an hour driving and is an amazing place. So historical. So it's really something. There are many resources within the Brazil Gateway and the global gateways that you can get and prepare yourself before you come to Brazil. Oh, there's also the Department of Spanish and Portuguese. So they do have tutors that can teach you a bit of Portuguese before you come here. If you say one or two words in a phrase in Portuguese, Brazilians will love it. Yeah, I heard it's different in other countries, but in Brazil, it works. And what else? Within campus, you have the Brasa. Brasa is the Brazilian Student Association. So you can go to their meetings that happen. I think they'll be back at happening at some point. But they also have social media. So it's really nice to meet with these Brazilian students or students that came to Brazil from many countries and get their experience as well.
Also so great, so interesting, right? And especially knowing that Ohio State has such a strong presence in Brazil is such a cool thing. It's pretty unique, to have those gateways across, Brazil and in India and in China. Like that's definitely a really interesting opportunity that we have here that not every university has. So
yeah,
definitely really appreciate your expertise down there and keeping all the trains on schedule and the things rolling down there and sharing your time with us today. Certainly very, very much appreciated. And introducing us to a lot of this Brazilian food and culture. And now I'm jealous that Geoff has brigadeiros to have.
Lucky one. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do a grocery store run and make some myself. I looked up the Estilo Brazil market, so I know where that is now too. So
yeah, that's a great idea. I would add two pieces of information. Brasa, the student association I mentioned, they won best dish, I think, two Taste of OSU events ago, and they didn't make brigadeiro. So imagine if they had made brigadeiro. Yeah, they made brownies, I think, probably with brigadeiro, but I'm not sure. And the second thing is, I don't know if this TV show still exists in the US. It's called Big Brother. Do you still have it? We have it here in Brazil. Big Brother, like a lot of people in a house, and we watch them the whole day. So that was not that famous anymore here in Brazil because it's the 20 edition of it. But now because of COVID and everybody's stuck at home, well, people are back to watching TV. And there was a very ugly discussion there, actually an argument between participants because of brigadeiro. Somebody ate more brigadeiro than another person thought they should have eaten. So you see, it's a reason for war. Yes. Just to see how important brigadeiro is in our culture. I just didn't want to forget telling you this.
Amazing. I love how political that the desserts can become in this situation. Jane, thank you so much for sharing all of this wonderful information with us. I can't wait to travel to Brazil one day. And maybe I'll try to make brigadeiros this weekend too. I'm so excited to try. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you like it.